He's well known in every country in the world. Exceed all of our expectations, Elvis.
Thank you very much. That's very nice.
What if I told you that Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll himself, harbored some seriously dark grudges against fellow musicians that went way beyond professional rivalry? That's right. While the world saw Elvis as the charming Southern gentleman who revolutionized music,
Well, since my baby left me, well, I found a new place to dwell.
industry insiders whisper about bitter feuds, jealous rages, and backstage confrontations that revealed a much darker side of the king. But here's where it gets absolutely explosive. One of these alleged hatreds reportedly drove Elvis to use his connections with powerful figures to sabotage a rival's career in ways that are still being covered up today. We're talking about supposed dressing room meltdowns, vindictive industry manipulation, and private rants that Colonel Parker desperately tried to silence. Music historians are calling these revelations the most shocking celebrity feuds of the rock and roll era. From the country legend who supposedly stole his sound to the shocking pop icon who allegedly made Elvis question his entire artistic identity, this countdown is about to demolish everything you thought you knew about the king's relationships with his musical peers. So prepare yourself for the jealousy, the paranoia, and the career-defining moments when Elvis Presley declared war on his fellow superstars. Number 6. Jerry Lee Lewis. Starting our countdown at number 6, we have Jerry Lee Lewis.
Whoa, see the woman with the diamond ring, she knows how to shake that thing off.
And this choice is already sending shockwaves through rock and roll's most sacred circles. The Killer and the King reportedly shared one of music's most explosive rivalries, involving stolen songs, sabotage performances, and personal grudges that lasted decades. According to industry sources, Elvis's hatred for Jerry Lee began during their early Sun Records days, when both competed for Sam Phillips's attention. A former Sun Studios engineer claims, Elvis would watch Jerry Lee's wild piano performances and allegedly tell other musicians, "That crazy fool is making rock and roll look like a circus act. He's destroying the dignity I'm trying to bring to this music." These comments reportedly revealed Elvis's deep insecurity about his own performance style.
I think Elvis, a little bit more conservative than I was. He hid himself more, I would say, from the public.
The most explosive incident allegedly occurred at a 1957 recording session where Jerry Lee supposedly confronted Elvis directly. Multiple witnesses claim Lewis told him, "Elvis, you're getting soft with all that Hollywood nonsense. Real rock and roll should be dangerous, not sanitized for teenage girls." Elvis reportedly responded by storming out, allegedly telling Colonel Parker, "I don't want that maniac anywhere near my sessions again." But here's the kicker. Sources suggest Elvis deliberately used his industry influence to limit Jerry Lee's mainstream opportunities. A former RCA executive revealed, Elvis would subtly suggest to booking agents and TV producers that Jerry Lee was too unpredictable for family-friendly shows. This campaign reportedly affected Lewis's ability to achieve Elvis-level mainstream success. 5. Little Richard. Little Richard claims the 5th spot, and this revelation is absolutely exploding through rock and roll's foundational history.
To the east, she rocked to the west, she's the girl that I love best.
The architect of rock and roll's alleged relationship with Elvis reportedly involved deep resentment over credit, recognition, and the racial dynamics that shaped both their careers in fundamentally different ways.
Jerry Lee Lewis,
Jerry Lee.
possibly Elvis.
Well, the people that, no, not possibly Elvis.
According to explosive behind-the-scenes reports, Richard's presence in Elvis's life represented everything the king allegedly feared about his own authenticity. A former Colonel Parker associate claims, Elvis would privately obsess over Little Richard's performances, constantly saying things like, "Richard created the moves and the energy, but I'm getting called the king. How is that fair to either of us?" These internal conflicts reportedly tormented Elvis throughout his career. The most revealing incident allegedly occurred when Little Richard confronted Elvis about rock and roll's racial origins during a 1950s backstage encounter. Multiple witnesses claim Richard told him, Elvis, you're a good man, but you're getting credit for music that black artists created. That's not your fault, but it's still happening. Elvis reportedly became visibly uncomfortable and avoided Richard for months afterward. But here's where it gets scandalous. Industry insiders suggest Elvis's guilt about racial appropriation drove him to actively avoid collaborating with Little Richard. A former RCA producer revealed Elvis would refuse to appear on shows with Little Richard, allegedly telling managers, "I can't share a stage with him without everyone seeing who really invented this music." This avoidance reportedly limited both artists' opportunities for meaningful musical exchange. The most shocking revelation involves Elvis's supposed private attempts to financially support Little Richard without public acknowledgement. Sources claim Elvis would anonymously fund Richard's recording sessions, allegedly telling associates, "I owe him more than money can repay, but I can't let anyone know without destroying my own career." This guilt reportedly haunted Elvis for decades. 4. Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan lands at number 4, and this choice is sending seismic shockwaves through both rock and folk music's most influential circles. The alleged tension between Elvis and Dylan reportedly represented a fundamental clash between rock and roll's past and its intellectual future, involving creative jealousy and generational misunderstanding. According to shocking industry whispers, Elvis's Dylan resentment began when the folk singer started being called rock's new voice. A former Graceland employee claims, Elvis would listen to Dylan's albums obsessively, constantly saying things like, "This guy can't sing, can barely play guitar, but everyone's calling him a genius. What does that make me? Yesterday's news." These listening sessions reportedly became increasingly bitter and self-destructive. The most explosive incident allegedly occurred when Dylan visited Graceland in the 1960s and supposedly criticized Elvis's artistic choices. Multiple sources claim Dylan told him, "Elvis, you have this incredible platform, but you're wasting it on movie soundtracks instead of saying something meaningful about the world." Elvis reportedly responded by asking Dylan to leave immediately. But here's the kicker. Industry insiders suggest Elvis's late career artistic revival was directly motivated by his need to prove he could be as relevant as Dylan. A former TCB band member revealed, Elvis would study Dylan's lyrics and song structures, then try to incorporate that intellectual approach into his own material. This competition allegedly drove Elvis's 1968 comeback special and subsequent artistic renaissance. The most shocking detail involves Elvis's supposed private analysis of Dylan's cultural impact. Sources claim he would tell close friends, "Dylan makes people think I'm just an entertainer, not an artist. He's making my whole career look shallow." This comparison reportedly fueled Elvis's increasing prescription drug use as he struggled with artistic insecurity. 3. The Beatles. The Beatles claim the shocking third position, and this revelation is reportedly causing absolute chaos in rock music's most sacred halls. Elvis's alleged hatred for the Fab Four went far beyond professional rivalry into deeply personal territory involving cultural displacement, generational warfare, and career-defining jealousy that shaped his entire later career.
For another, we met Elvis. It was one of the highlights of our visit. It was funny because,
according to explosive industry sources, Elvis's Beatles resentment began when they surpassed his cultural influence in America. A former Colonel Parker insider claims, Elvis would watch Beatles coverage obsessively, constantly saying things like, "These British kids are stealing my country's music and selling it back to us. They're making me look like a relic from the past." These viewing sessions reportedly became increasingly destructive and paranoid. The most revealing incident allegedly occurred during the Beatles' famous 1965 Graceland visit. Multiple witnesses claim the meeting was far more tense than publicly reported, with Elvis supposedly telling them, "You boys are talented, but you're riding a wave that I created. Don't forget who opened the doors you're walking through." The Beatles reportedly left earlier than planned after this confrontation. But here's the ultimate bombshell. Sources suggest Elvis deliberately tried to sabotage the Beatles' American television appearances through his industry connections. A former Ed Sullivan Show producer revealed Elvis's people would call suggesting scheduling conflicts or technical problems whenever the Beatles were booked. This campaign allegedly limited some of their early American exposure. The most shocking revelation involves Elvis's supposed analysis of the Beatles' impact on his own relevance. Industry insiders claim he would tell his inner circle, "The Beatles made me look old-fashioned and out of touch. They took rock and roll away from America and made it a British export." This displacement anxiety reportedly drove Elvis's increasing isolation and prescription drug dependency. Number 2, Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra claims the explosive second position, and this choice is sending absolute shockwaves through entertainment's most powerful circles.
Shot down in May, but I know I'm gonna change.
The chairman of the board's alleged relationship with Elvis reportedly involved bitter generational warfare.
Now, I just made a movie of the last tour that I did. It's the first live concert that we ever filmed, so that's my next project that's coming out.
Industry politics and personal attacks that went far beyond their famous public disputes into deeply vindictive territory. According to shocking behind-the-scenes reports, Sinatra's presence in Elvis's life represented everything the king allegedly feared about establishment acceptance. A former Rat Pack insider claims Frank would constantly attack Elvis in private, saying things like, "That hillbilly is destroying real music with his gyrating nonsense. He's turning art into a mating ritual for teenagers." These attacks reportedly devastated Elvis's confidence about his artistic legitimacy. The most explosive incident allegedly occurred at a 1960 industry party where Sinatra supposedly confronted Elvis directly about rock and roll's impact on traditional music. Multiple witnesses claim Sinatra told him, "Elvis, you're talented, but you're leading an entire generation away from real musical sophistication." Elvis reportedly responded by challenging Sinatra to prove your music can make people feel as alive as mine does. But here's the kicker. Industry insiders suggest Elvis's later attempts to record traditional standards were directly motivated by his need to prove he could compete with Sinatra's sophisticated approach. A former RCA producer revealed, Elvis would constantly reference Frank's arrangements and vocal techniques, allegedly saying, "I need to show that old bastard I can sing real songs, not just rock and roll." This competition reportedly influenced Elvis's entire artistic evolution. The most shocking detail involves their supposed private reconciliation attempt in the 1970s. Sources claim Sinatra visited Elvis backstage and allegedly told him, "You proved me wrong, kid. You didn't destroy music. You just changed it." Elvis reportedly broke down crying, saying, "Frank, I've been trying to earn your respect my entire career." 1. Colonel Tom Parker. Colonel Tom Parker takes the absolutely explosive #1 spot, and this revelation is reportedly causing seismic chaos throughout entertainment's most secretive power circles. Elvis's alleged hatred for his own manager goes far beyond professional disagreements into deeply personal territory involving manipulation, financial exploitation, and psychological control that ultimately destroyed the king's life and career.
I had never anything to do with Elvis. And at rate, Elvis got more money during the period we played here than...
According to shocking industry reports, Elvis's Parker hatred developed gradually as he realized the extent of his manager's controlling manipulation. A former Graceland insider claims, Elvis would go into these heartbroken rants, constantly saying things like, "The Colonel sold my soul to the highest bidder and convinced me it was for my own good. He made me a prisoner in my own career." These realizations reportedly drove Elvis to increasing desperation and substance abuse. The most explosive incident allegedly occurred in the 1970s when Elvis discovered Parker's illegal immigration status and gambling debts. Multiple witnesses claim Elvis confronted him, screaming, "You've been lying to me about everything. You can't even legally be in this country, but you're controlling my entire life." Sources suggest this discovery shattered Elvis's trust completely and drove him to consider firing Parker despite contractual obligations. But here's the ultimate bombshell. Industry insiders whisper about Elvis's alleged attempts to break free from Parker's control through secret legal consultations. A former entertainment lawyer revealed, Elvis would meet with attorneys privately, constantly asking, "How can I get rid of the Colonel without destroying my career?" He felt trapped in a contract that was slowly killing him. These escape attempts reportedly failed due to Parker's ironclad legal arrangements. So there you have it. 6 explosive relationships that reveal the King's darkest secrets. Which revelation shocked you most? Hit that like button, drop your thoughts below, and subscribe for more explosive music industry revelations.